Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. What's up, folks? Welcome back to another soul-driven Akashic monthly reading. Monthly lesson, monthly reading. What can I say? It's really wild because I have recorded this intro 3 times now, which is not usually the case, but it is very clear to me that Mercury retrograde, we're getting ready to transition. Mercury is getting ready to go. Well, it's already gone direct, but it'll be completely out of the shadow this week. And it's like I can feel that transition in the way I'm trying to communicate. Mercury is all about communication, and which is why our computers stop working, our phones stop working, things get fritzy, people misunderstand each other, blah, blah, blah. When Mercury is retrograde, because it governs all the talk. So anyway, it's a little bit of a side note, tangent, whatever. Happy November. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you. So I have a bit of an announcement before we jump into today. And that is simply that I have decided to close down the Soul Driven Collective at this time. I know, I'm wiping away tears a bit. One of my big lessons, which I talked about in last week's solo episode, and I highly recommend checking out if you didn't, it's called Now's the Time to Fortify Your Spiritual Practice. And that was legit. Now is the time. I am really walking the walk. Some of the things that I advised in that is to simplify your life, is to think about where you're putting your energy out and to pull it back in areas where you just don't need to be. And, for me, I've always been someone who gives out a ton of energy. I love helping people. I love being there and available for them. And I actually have pretty decent boundaries in place, but especially when it comes to sharing and those kinds of things, I can just really go overboard. And, this podcast takes a lot of energy and time. I hired 2 different people to help me with it, to help me produce it. So it is a true effort. And I love the Soul Driven Collective, but I was pouring an enormous amount of energy into it. And the truth is that I don't have the energy to do that with right now. My life is going through huge transformation, and I need to be filling up my cup instead of trying to fill up everyone else's, And the beautiful thing is that I can still fill up cups with this podcast. It's not going anywhere. But for now, I am putting a pause on the community, and we'll just see what happens in the future. I'm not going to say anything. I will share, though, that it's very important for you to join my email list if that is something that, if you want to stay in touch with me, if you want to stay in touch with some things that are going on. I'm going to really start utilizing my email list again, putting a lot of focus there, sharing some resources like I have been doing within the community through my email list. And I'm just gonna take it month by month. I have always wanted community so much that truthfully I think I jumped in too soon. And I didn't fully understand what the energetic output would be for that. It's very funny when I first signed up for the Patreon, they were like, it's really good if you post at least once or twice a week in your group. And I was like, what? I'm a marketer once or twice a week. That's nothing, you know? And I posted almost every day. I shared all the time. I was always kind of thinking about content. But again, my life is going through a huge transformation, and I need to be really particular about where I'm spending my energy right now. And I'm sharing this with you not only as an announcement, but also to show you, like, I'm walking my walk. You know, the things that I talk to you about and share with you, like, they're not only things that I have done, but am also currently doing and practicing in my own life. So, moving on. Okay. So let's dive in. November. What is up, November? November is my favorite month, and it's not just because it's my birthday month or because it also hosts my favorite holiday, which is Thanksgiving, because, you know, family food, football, actually. Not really a big fan of football, American football, that is. I'm a big fan of soccer, football. EPL, what's up? For those who know. But there's just something about this time of year that is all about returning to ourselves, coming back inside, just getting really clear and focused. I think that we are all, in one way, shape, or another, thinking about the past, you know, this year, 2021, what has happened? And thinking about where are we headed, right? We don't have much longer before this year is over, and we are in 2022. That's mind-blowing to me. And I mean, just for me personally, something that starts happening October, but definitely at the very beginning of November, every year of my life, I really start thinking about the past year. You know, what did I accomplish? Where did I fail? What did I experience? What were my wins? Whatever. What was the year about? And then I start thinking about what do I want the next year to be? And I encourage you to do the same thing, especially as we're coming up at the end of 2021. I always really like writing out on my birthday, which is at the very end of November, like what I want the next year of my life to feel like and what I want to experience. I typically set like business career goals, those kinds of things at the beginning of the year. Whether you're someone who like celebrates New Year's or not, there's so much collective energy behind new beginnings that it is a very powerful time to set goals, to set yourself up for a strong new beginning. But I also love doing that on my birthday, right? Because that's my personal new year. And I think it's just a really intentional and beautiful way of honoring my birthday. This one's a big one, y'all. I'm turning 40. What? I really thought I was going to be in a different place in my life when I was younger and coming up on 40, but it's all good. I always said, you know, life is just getting started at 40. 40 is just getting started. And it's wild because that has completely come true for me. And I don't know if I've been thinking about this a little bit. It's like, I don't know if that is something that I created because I said it so often, or if that's just kind of the way my life is set up. You know, there's so much conditioning, especially in the Western cultures, about, oh, being young and how amazing it is and blah, 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 blah. But no way. I have always loved getting older. And getting older, I mean, like, it's such a privilege. And it's a privilege a lot of people don't ever get to experience. And that's not to say I have not looked in the mirror, you know, a couple of times over the past year and been like, oh man, that's okay. That's a new wrinkle. And oh wow. Okay, my face is doing that now. Okay. And caught myself, you know, in these moments where I'm like beating myself up. But then it's like, whoa, I'm still alive. I'm still here experiencing things. And it's just getting started, you know. In my mid-30s, started just like falling in love with women who were like 50 plus. I mean, they were just Women who are 50 plus are incredible. They're so vibrant, they're alive because they're not living underneath all of the conditioning that we kind of do as younger women, like the need to look good, the need to have the friends, the need to be liked and blah, 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 be polite and blah, blah, blah. They are just themselves. And the older they get, the more they become themselves. And I mean, I've seen women who, in their 60s and 70s are just completely redesigning their lives. And it's just like women become more alive as they get older. And I love that. And I'm thankful for that. And, we do live in society that puts all this pressure on us to be and look and blah, blah, blah. And man, I'm pretty happy to kick that to the curb. I don't know about anyone else. Side rant, or rant aside. So November is such a beautiful month. And I want to kind of just briefly touch on October, because October kicked my ass. I don't know if anyone else did. But at the same time, I will say, October has been very kind to me in a lot of ways. It's been a very difficult month, do not get me wrong. But because I really listened to myself, pulled back, took the time for myself, have really focused on taking care of myself, have really focused on getting my 8 hours of sleep, which I've never needed before. Moving my body, eating foods that make me feel good, finding joy where I can. Since I've really started doing that, it was actually quite a soft month for me. And again, do not mistake me when I say it was hard as shit. Okay. But my goodness, did it make a difference with me really taking care of me. And I think that, that's part of the reason why I made the announcement about the collective that I did. I am looking at every area of my life right now and pruning. Where can I simplify? Where can I release more so that energy can come back? Because I got to tell you folks, moving forward, we are going to need that. We're going to need it so much. The theme for October was coming apart. And coming apart was just kind of us opening up, right? Opening wide to what it is that's going on around us. And November, December, we are headed into some heavy astrology. And I'm going to talk briefly about the astrology on the other side of this reading for November, but I'm also going to provide you 2 fantastic resources for those who want to dive in. Why do I feel like I've said this already? If I have, please excuse me. I've already recorded this. This is my 3rd time. I can't do it again. But suffice it to say, I'll be sharing some resources with you. But make sure to join me on the other side for sure. Okay, if you haven't been here for an Akashic reading before, highly recommend checking out the bonus episode about how to read what the Akashic Records are. We always put that link in the show notes for these monthly lessons, and you can check out a little bit more about the Akashic Records. Suffice it to say that the Akasha is energy, which exists around us at all times. We are all energy, but the Akasha exists in a much higher frequency and at a different dimension. And in the Akasha, you can access information, past, present, future, of anything at any point in time. And I know that sounds huge, but what I call Akashic readings are really soul readings because they get down to the very root of what's going on. So when I channel through these messages, first of all, they are specifically for the listeners of the Soul Driven podcast. So if you're here, even if you aren't a regular listener, it is still for you. And that means it's going to come alive for you. But what I do is I go in and I ask them specifically, what can they share about the month ahead? And that is the message that is channeled through and that is shared every month. So I recommend finding a quiet place, sitting down with this reading, just closing your eyes, really just letting yourself be absorbed. don't feel the need to grasp everything that I say. Just let it flow through you. And when the reading is done, like maybe take a couple notes about some things that really popped out to you. And then revisit it like once, every week through November. It's a really beautiful way to ground yourself. And I got to tell you, this month we're really gonna need it. Really gonna need it. It's another very internal month for me, and I'm really going to be focusing on that in addition to all of the things that are changing in my exterior world. But it's just so important for us to learn how to find these quiet, peaceful, still places within ourselves right now. Even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just for a little while, we have everything we need inside of us, truly. And I don't say that without really believing it. And the more that I spend time in practice and really hone my relationship with my inner truth and inner wisdom, the more I know it's true and the more I experience that truth. So, we're going to dive into November's reading here. I'll be back on the other side to just kind of break it apart for you, talk about some things that really, popped out for me, share what the reading was like, and talk a bit about astrology, and then also I will be pulling a card for this month. So, hope to see you on the other side. These times are fraught with disaster. It's as if you are continually let down every time you look at the news, every time you pick your head up and look at the world around you. Yes, we know there are so many reasons to feel downtrodden in the midst of so much change. It feels like the world is breaking apart. It feels like this is the end. And it is. It is the end of what no longer serves your planet. It is the undoing of so much that has been tightly entangled, wrapped around your Mother Earth, suffocating her, preventing her from taking in the full capacity of the sun with the way that she is meant to do. And even in this visual representation, how much of this aligns with your life? What is it that has been suffocating you? What has been holding you back from stepping into the trueness of who you are and what it is that you are here to do? For there are heavy roads ahead. You will find yourself lost, reeling, wondering where it is that you can find solid ground. But it is beneath you, always beneath you. We know that you have encountered great loss as of late. And friends, there is so much more to come. So much breaking apart and unsettling. Cracks in the earth will appear. tidal waves will continue putting villages, towns, cities underwater. For the rebalancing of your planet must take place. You will see your politicians bickering. Those who try to come up with solutions for all will be beat down. They will have those records expunged. They will try to hide them, put them out of the way, set them in the shadow. The shadow that has been built for all. It is the shadow that you will feel encroaching upon the earth. For soon much will begin taking place at such a rapid pace, you will not be able to keep up. Once again, we sound the alarm. This is why it is so important for you to learn how to lean on yourself, to know when it is time to beckon indoors, lock the locks, and turn away from all that is taking place outside. Simply so that you might find the strength, find the center within yourself to maintain walking along the path that you so wish to take, even in the midst of so much tumbling apart. We do not suggest that you tap out or that you spiritually bypass, as they say, but simply learn how to find your peace in the midst of wreckage, in the midst of so much that will be destroyed. Take care for your health. Do not bide your time around those who discard their own. For soon health will become a big issue. For not only is the health of the planet suffocating, but so too will mankind as they continually retreat and choose not to push back on all that is suffocating them. This is meant for divine purpose. This is meant to awaken those who refuse to do so. But as always, it is your choice, their choice, a choice. In the midst of so much that is taking place, we wish to extend our love and gratitude to you. Know that we so greatly admire that you chose to live upon the planet at this time,
For it is not easy. It is heavy and weary, and we know that you grow tired and grieve. Yet we hold you in the highest esteem for taking on this plight at this time, for trying to do good on this planet. We see every intention. We celebrate every victory. We are here with you. That is why in this day and time, we channel through those who will give us a voice so that you might know you are not alone, so that you might remember you can never be alone. Take heart, dear friends. You are our heroes. You are strong and mighty, more so than you will ever know in your human body. But take care to care for yourself. Take care to mend your bodies, to nurture your minds, to replenish your spirit. And know that without a doubt, everything is right where it's meant to be.
All right. Coming back now. If you are just kind of waking up a bit from the reading, feel free to take your time. So, this reading for me was very intense. It had a lot of visuals, of which I'll kind of talk about a bit more as I kind of do an overview of the reading. But, the thing is that when this first started coming through, if you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard me say many times that I don't always hear, I'm not, because I am channeling, I'm not always aware of what it is that is coming through me. And so typically I will channel through a message, I'll have it the transcript written up, and then I'll go back through and listen to it, edit that transcript if I need to. It just really helps me to put words with, to see words with what it is that comes through. And if you ever want to read the transcript, feel free to always check out the blog. In the show notes, there will be a link there for this episode. We always include that with it. But yeah, I'm a visual person and it's helpful for me. But, with this reading starting off with these times are fraught with disaster, I was like, oh Lord, here we go. And I was so thankful that it ended up, in a very positive place, and that they also shared information that I think is very valuable, especially for those who are potentially newer to metaphysical spirituality in regards to how things work outside of our 3D everyday world. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of dive in. I think that honestly, this reading was very straightforward. Sometimes what they share with me feels very abstract, but every reader of the Akashic Records is different. And I think that because I am such a straightforward person, that for the most part, my readings are pretty straightforward. You don't have to think about them too much in order for it to really sink in. So, yeah, we're just going to kind of dive in. And of course, it starts off with some real intensity. And there is, November is going to be a very intense month, just period. Especially if we are not taking care of ourselves, if we are not doing for ourselves what I talked about in last week's solo episode about now being the time to create a spiritual practice or to solidify it, fortify it. I can't remember the exact name, but just so important for us. And I have to tell you, I think I shared before, October for me was a lot easier because I made that a priority. And I am absolutely doing that going into November, absolutely doing that going into December. These last 2 months of the year are going to be very intense. And yeah, it's just important that we buckle in. So it really talked about just kind of how everywhere we're looking, we're seeing things falling apart. And, that is just kind of our world right now, right? And that's all happening for a beautiful, beautiful purpose and reason. And I just wanted to reiterate that. I hope that this reading didn't cause you any fear, but if it did, then that's okay too. I get scared as well. How could we not, right? We're human and we're going through a really intense time on this planet. I thought it was interesting how it talked about the earth and how Mother Nature was such a kind of a key topic in this reading, considering the fact that leaders are right now discussing, what they're going to do about climate change, what they're going to do to protect our planet for the G20 summit. And, are they actually going to do things, or are they just going to do a lot of talking? I saw that there was an article about like Joe Biden, who he'd like fallen asleep in the midst of, or it looked like he was like falling asleep in the midst of all of these discussions. And I think that we can really maybe kind of lash out at that and be like, what the heck, like this is so important. But I used to date a diplomat, and these discussions are a lot of talking and talking, like empty talking. And I don't know about you, but yeah, I understand and am compassionate for where he's at. But I just think like, like, are these people actually going to do anything that's going to really help us? That's going to really make a difference, because we are at those, those fraction points. And how it talked about Earth suffocating, that imagery was just really huge for me. I was thinking about that movie, oh my gosh, with Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar. Thank you, brain. Sometimes I get too excited, my words just go. I was thinking about that movie Interstellar, which if you haven't seen it, excellent movie. But the planet is literally suffocating and they've got to find another place to go. And so when this kind of channeled through, I was just like, wow. And as is the macro, so is the micro, right? We look out and our planet is suffocating. I mean, our oceans are dying. And how does that also correlate with ourselves? Where are we also suffocating in our own lives? What is it that is holding us back, right? What is it that we aren't saying, that we aren't doing, that we feel like we should, but maybe we're a little bit too busy, or maybe we assume that it's not very important, or maybe we assume that someone else will do it, Like they said, there are heavy roads ahead. Like, we have big shit coming our way in regards to Mother Nature and what is going to be taking place on this planet. Things that were forecasted and predicted way back in like the 70s and the 80s, through people like Dolores Cannon, a famous hypnotherapist who's written just, I don't even know how many books. And, when it talks about like cracks in the earth and water, I mean, we're going to see so much of that. And because there is a real rebalancing that is taking place. And I've talked about this before on this podcast. This isn't new. But the rebalancing is huge. We've got systems that are so out of whack that are, really taking care of a very select few while everyone else is suffering. I also saw a headline that was like 2% of Elon Musk's wealth would take care of world hunger. That is insane. That is insane. I'm sure Jeff Bezos is same thing. You know what I mean? Like, why would any one person need this much? Especially when there are so many people suffering on this planet. I mean, that is how things are so out of whack. And it was really interesting to me because when they said you will see your politicians bickering, what I saw very clearly was both sides. People want to take sides with politics these days. They want to see things really black and white. And I got to tell you, as far as I am concerned, both sides need to go. Like, we just need to clear the chessboard, start all over, because shit just is not working, right? And it doesn't matter who I like more for our so-called president or whatever the case may be. The president has such a small amount of power. And those are things we need to remember, and with both parties. I mean, like, oh my gosh, the bickering and the ego and the like, oh, no, I'm not going to do this for you because you're on the other side. Like, why are we not enraged as a people that these people who are all profiting off of our suffering are acting like children instead of coming up with solutions? I'm going to stop myself there. Otherwise, I will rant. That's not what you're here for. But I just wanted to share that. It was like I saw like both sides like going at each other and like neither one being better than the other because they aren't, period. They aren't working for us, period. And of course, this brings up the shadow, right? The shadow of everything, of our politics, of our just everything, right? And it's so fascinating to me because we are headed into the US's Pluto return, and that shadow is going to be coming very, very loud. So they said, once again, we sound the alarm. And last month's reading, maybe you heard, maybe you didn't, but they were like, we know we sound like a broken record, but maybe you'll listen this time. And so once again, they're sounding the alarm. Like, this is so important for us to, again, take the practices, especially those that I shared in last week's episode, very seriously. Very seriously. And, simplifying our life, getting really clear on where we're putting our energy, and putting strong boundaries in place, really learning how to tune in and find that centering within ourselves. Make sure you listen to that episode if you haven't. But it's just so important right now because so much is going to be happening on the political landscape in front of us on our planet. It's going to be difficult. I thought it was also quite interesting how they brought up health and how health is going to become a big issue. They said, for not only is the health of the planet suffering, but so too will mankind, as they continually retreat and choose not to push back on all that is suffocating them. That's really huge, because that points to, again, why are we not enraged that our politicians, that the people who are profiting on us are not truly working for us as a entire people? That is who is suffocating us. And it's not one person. Everybody wants to find that one scapegoat, right? To blame it all on, point fingers. But guess what? It's not just them, it's also us. We are just as guilty because we are just as involved in this. And, the things that we do on the day-to-day, that's also There's so much. I mean, like I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw, like this young girl like picking up a like 24 pack of water bottles, and I'm just thinking like, how often do you buy those? Like, why not get one of the large water, container things? You know what I'm talking about. That you put in your house. It's like if you go into a business, you see one. You can get those in your house. And they're actually not very expensive at all. Especially like if she's buying those just that pack like twice a month, then she's paying the same amount. And I'm just thinking like that is so much trash that's going out into the environment. Plastic is like massively destroying. It's horrific for this planet. But why are we still making those decisions? We have to also get involved. But health is huge. Like, are we taking care of ourselves? We know that meat is one of the largest contributors to carbon in the air we breathe in our atmosphere, and yet we still need so much meat. It's mind blowing if you look into how much meat contributes. And mind you, I enjoy. My partner makes like the best steak, so I am not pointing any fingers, but I am saying these are things that we need to be aware of, especially when we're off pointing fingers at everybody else. But of course, really bringing this all back, this is all happening for a divine purpose. We are all learning lessons right now. We're all being asked to come up higher. And I loved that they shared, know that we so greatly admire that you chose to live upon the planet at this time, for it is not easy. The beings that are helping us right now, potentially from other planets, our ancestors, our other spirit guides, could be animal guides, could be angels, could be ascended masters. There's so many different types. They truly are in awe of the fact that we chose to come here and participate in this human experiment. Not only are we able to grow so much in a human life, which is why we choose to incarnate here in the first place, but a lot of us chose to be here and didn't have to be here because we wanted to help. And they are in awe of us. That is why we have so much grace from, from the universe, from God, because we chose to be here. And all of us are here with a purpose. Whether we choose to envelop and embody that purpose is a completely different thing. Free will is also here, but we did come with a purpose, and we can all be helpful at this time. But I thought it was beautiful that they shared that, because especially like I was mentioning, if you are newer to the metaphysical spirituality, you may not understand that not only did we choose to live this life and to be here at this very specific time, but that we have cheerleaders around us at all times. We can tap into them, we can ask them to come and be a part, and we can so much more enjoy our game if they are here with us and we invite them in. Like they said, we see every intention, we celebrate every victory. We are here with you. Beautiful things to remember. And then just kind of wrapping things up, taking care of our body again. Our body is so important. And if we don't take care of our body, we're going to have a really difficult time through this time period, because, it doesn't take a rocket science to know that stress is like the number one killer, right? And dis-ease is literally dis-ease. So when we are not happy with our world, with our life, with our decisions, those things start to eat away at our body. That is where dis-ease comes from, because we are dis-eased in our body. And those are huge things. When we can keep our energy clear, when we can take care of our body, and I'm not talking about like crazy exercise amounts, I'm not talking about like going extreme with your eating. I'm talking about truly taking care of the vessel that is inside of us, or that is us, that carries us, our soul, I should say, we have so much more energy and potential to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. You know, the quote for this podcast, and it was a quote that was channeled down to me several years back: when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. And that's just the truth. When we take care of ourselves first, it allows us to take care of everyone else in our sphere. And that's whether you have children, that's whether you have, a business and you're helping people specifically, whatever the case may be. We really have to take care of ourselves. And then just finally here, a beautiful reminder: everything is right where it's meant to be. Don't forget that, or don't get disillusioned about what it is that you're experiencing or where it is that you might feel like you are on your spiritual path. You're exactly where you're meant to be. We're all at different places on our own paths. And like my stepfather always said, it is not a race, period. We all come into this life with just at different stages in our growth, and all are equally valid. All are equally honored. So don't compare yourselves to others. Don't look out at the world and think like, oh my gosh, it shouldn't be this way. It should be this way or this way. That's pointless thinking. Remember, everything is exactly as it's meant to be, and everything happens for our benefit, whether that's in our personal lives or out on the landscape of our planet in general. Okay. So that was the reading. I would love to hear how it resonated with you, what kind of stuck out. Email me, souldrivenpodcast@gmail.com. Share. I'd love to hear. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Soul Driven Podcast. And yeah, I'm just curious how this reading resonated with you. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of jump into the astrology for the month. And again, just a caveat that I am not an astrologer, and I will be sharing two different podcast resources for you to check out in regards to other people's oh my gosh, word just completely left my brain. Their interpretations of the astrology, of the energy for the month ahead. And if you're someone that kind of like, is whatever about astrology, I just encourage you to check it out, especially when you're feeling off, when things aren't going so right. I'm going to just share some of the transits with you, or some of the big things with you this month, which there's so much more that's going on, but I wanted to give you some specific dates because the middle part of this month, really like the 10th through the 20th, is going to be particularly intense. And I guess it's more so like the 21st, 22nd. So, but I wanted to give you some specific dates. And I think, again, I shared prior that astrology empowers me to make better decisions up front and from the beginning, and just kind of choose to do things differently, choose to approach things differently. So our very first thing is the new moon in Scorpio on November 4th this week, and the same day the sun is opposing Uranus in Taurus. So this new moon in Scorpio is very, very intense. New moons usually kick my butt, and I can already feel this one. I'm like more tired this week. I am, yeah. But what is really beautiful about this new moon in particular is that it is really helping us to release what is not meant for us. And what I would suggest is this is not necessarily a time to try and manifest things, although that's usually what is associated with new moons. Because of the intensity of this new moon, I would more so think about ways in which you can free yourself up more, places in your life, things in your life, people in your life that need to go, that just don't belong anymore, where can you purge? The autumn, just like the spring, at least for me, is always an incredible time of purging. I just purged my closet not too long ago. I do this, at least twice a year, which is mind blowing to me. I don't know how to accumulate things, especially because like I did not shop at all in 2020. And I really haven't shopped like at all in 2021, yet I still have so much crap that I don't need. And you're probably with me in that, like here, at least in the West and the US, we accumulate so much shit. It would be a great time to purge your closet, to clean out your house, those kinds of things. Absolutely. But also, what else is going on in your life and in your world? You know what I mean? That you can push through. Because the sun is also opposing Uranus, which the Uranus and Taurus, it's a big theme of this year that really causes a lot of friction, a lot of tension. The fact that it is opposing the sun, it's just going to make this a kind of like, and really I should just say like all of these transits, it welcomes in tension. It welcomes in arguments and the ability to feel triggered really easily. My number one suggestion for this month is to work with curiosity like there's no tomorrow, like with everything, okay? If someone triggers you in the least bit, get curious. First of all, take a breath. Take a breath and get curious. Try to understand what it is that they're saying, where it is that they're coming from, instead of just diving right in. On November 5th, Venus is entering Capricorn and Mercury enters Scorpio. So Venus has been in Sagittarius, where it's like been having some fun, but also been off-roading a little bit. It's coming into Capricorn, which is nice and grounding, but at the same time, this is going to be a really intense placement because Venus in Capricorn it's not very happy. And it's going to be there until like March something, because it's going to go retrograde, which is the whole thing. I'm not going to get into it now. That actually happens in December, but it's really, really going to force us to look at our values and what is important to us and what is not. Capricorn is no joke. It's about hard work. It's about, head to the grindstone. It's serious. Mercury in Scorpio is, Mercury is, it's all about communication. And in Scorpio is all about going deep. So we're also going through a time where like secrets are going to be coming to the surface. And, in the midst of our relationships, we're going to have to go deep on things. Staying surface is not going to work so much. November 10th is where things like really start to get tense. And this is Mercury is conjunct Mars, and Mars is squaring off with Saturn, which Mars squaring off with Saturn is huge. And we've got this followed up by the 17th, where Mars is opposing Uranus in Taurus, which again, these are really just, major opportunities for tension and arguments and bickering and upset. And I will say that Mars in Scorpio, so Mars entered Scorpio several days ago, but it's a nice change from Mars being in Leo or Libra. Libra is all about balance, and Mars is all about aggression and masculinity and action, and it's not happy in Libra at all because, it wants to get shit done, and Libra's like, no, we got to think about everybody. So it really kind of like slows its flow. Like with Mars and Libra, I did not want to do hardcore workouts. Like my body was just like, nah. Not feeling it. But now that it's back in Scorpio, I'm like, let's get it. Let's get to it. Because it's all about action, and it's very powerful in Scorpio. And that's a beautiful thing. So while there is all this opportunity for tension, for conflict, it's also a gorgeous opportunity to like get things done. And when I say get things done, I mean like on your own. Okay. Like, One of the astrologers was that I was listening to was talking about how he's going to be like finishing off his book during this time, which I just think is great. He's like, I'm like locking myself away and just going to finish my book. I'm going to make myself do that, and that's how I'm going to utilize this energy. And he's not running away from it. He's just choosing to use this energy to his benefit because it could be that way. You could really kind of ride a wave here. And even though I feel the intensity of the new moon coming, like I feel very upbeat. I feel very hopeful. I feel very excited. And which makes me excited. I don't feel heaviness yet. And if I start feeling that, we'll just put that out there. I'll be kind of reworking my morning routine and whatnot to accompany that. But suffice it to say that throughout all of this time, and well, I guess let me just, the last major thing here is, well, second to last, is the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. That's on the 19th of November. That is huge. We are entering eclipse season. Eclipse is all about reworking that past, looking at that past. And that's going to be, like lasting a couple of days. We'll have our second and final eclipse in December for 2021. But this is, again, very intense energy. So before we enter Sagittarius on the 21st, what's up, y'all? If you didn't know, I'm a double Sag with a Leo rising, all about it. But anyway, the last month or the last week of this month is going to be infinitely lighter than the middle part of this month. So again, kind of like from the 10th to the 20th, right around in there, I would highly suggest really doing yourself a favor and resting, because you're going to be feeling a lot of things. And so self-care through this time is going to be huge. You're either going to feel amped up or you're going to feel exhausted. And, take that how it is for you. I absolutely suggest self-care, getting more sleep if that's what you need, maybe taking some naps. Maybe instead of those hardcore workouts or whatever, like doing some yoga, maybe even some yin yoga, which is very slow, restorative even. And for those who are like super amped up, I mean, absolutely feel free to like go for a run or those kinds of things to work that out. But just be mindful that you're not amping up that heated energy within yourself. Because you might go for a run and then come back and be like, like on that run, you like remembered a friend who like did something, recently that just kind of like bugged you a bit. And then all of a sudden you get back from the run and you're angry at this friend. So really think about that as well. Breath work, especially for those who feel amped up, is a beautiful way to work through all of that energy in a productive manner. Because you can do some really intense breathing exercises that, will kind of help you get in that flow, but also really help you neutralize it. So, okay. And like I mentioned, just real quick again, last week of the month is going to be infinitely more chill. So it's not that it's like real chill. It's just like kind of our new chill. So it'll still have a lot going on, but nothing like the middle part of the month, and which is great. So by the time my birthday hits on the 27th, what's up? Should be feeling good. Okay. So our last and final thing here is just that I pulled a card for the month ahead, and this is the Shamanic Healing Oracle cards I've shared many times before. If you're new to the podcast, if you're thinking about Oracle cards, if you've been considering Oracle cards or tarot cards, this is a beautiful set to start with. We always include a link, and it's not even an affiliate link. It's just, I think that this is like a gorgeous set to really start with. And I think that, whether you're starting or advanced, you would really enjoy these cards. So anyway, I pulled the number 30 Divine Timing card, which, man, so perfect. Okay. How often do you feel that you want things in your life to change now? Not 2 years from now, not even 2 months, but right this instant. Seldom do we see the whole picture of why our lives are unfolding the way they are. We don't need to. What we need to do is surrender to the way things are right now. That doesn't mean to not take action when a situation is untenable. What it means is to let your life unfold before you so that you have access to all the information, all the lessons, and all the people you will need to go where you are headed. Divine timing is at work in this situation. Try not to fight it. Instead, go within during meditation and ask the questions you want answers to. Why not now? How can I best prepare myself? What lessons do I need to learn prior to the change I want to see? And you will get the answers. I thought this was so beautiful and so perfect. And for me, I like with these oracle cards, I just prefer reading them because, yeah. This month is absolutely going to make us want to feel like we want to move forward in time. Like we want answers. Like we want to understand. We want to know what's going on. We might be waiting for a new job. We might be waiting for a partner, like a romantic partner we've just kind of started talking to them but things are not necessarily working out right now. In addition to just like the energy, I feel like the energy we're going to really be wanting to like move forward quickly. So I love just like what it means to let your life unfold is making sure you have access to all the information, lessons, and the people that you need to go where you are headed. And that's just kind of leaning back on my suggestion to just be very, very curious in this time, because there's, again, just going to be so much. And the more that we can lead with curiosity on the everyday anyway, the better, right? When we can be curious about why someone is triggering us or making sure that we're hearing them correctly, whatever the case may be, man, that just means we're operating out of our highest and best. So I just want to thank you for being here today, especially if you've stayed this long. I really hope that you enjoyed the reading. Again, just want to recommend listening to it, once every week throughout November. It will be very grounding for you, very centering, and also encouraging. And the reading itself is just like 11 minutes. So there will be some timestamps in the show notes. And so you can just go right there and listen to the reading. You don't have to listen to all my jabber, unless you want to. But either way, again, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't joined the Soul Driven newsletter, make sure that you do that. There's a link in the show notes. I will be offering podcast updates, helpful resources, and other information. Regardless, and as always, don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.